Welcome to Self-Development Psychology. In the previous lecture, we talked about the 3 types of defensive thinking, and today we will discuss the first type, rigid thinking. If I were to ask you what the most important factor is in predicting a person's success, you might think it's their ability. And you wouldn't be alone in thinking that. Many people believe that a person's ability can be measured through various tests, such as entrance exams for schools or job aptitude tests. These tests are based on the assumption that a person's ability is relatively fixed, and that they can be categorized into different levels based on their abilities. However, in real life, you will encounter people who may have started with average abilities but have made great progress through their own efforts, ultimately achieving great success. On the other hand, you may also encounter people who seem very intelligent but gradually fade away due to a setback. Today, we will talk about rigid thinking, which will tell you that ability cannot predict everything, and sometimes how you approach your abilities is more important than the abilities themselves. Rigid thinking leads to fragile high self-esteem. Before discussing rigid thinking, let me tell you a story. I once met a student who was very smart and did well in school. He was admitted to a prestigious university, which was not common for students from his hometown. The principal of his high school thought highly of him and put his photo on the school's honor wall, telling him, "You are very smart, and you will definitely bring honor to our school when you go to university." At that moment, he felt like he was put on a high pedestal and couldn't come down. After starting university, he realized that he was not as smart as he thought he was. There were many talented people in the school, which made him feel very ordinary. At the end of his first semester, he failed calculus. In fact, many students fail this course in university, and they can just take a makeup exam. However, he felt like he couldn't learn it and didn't even want to try. He even skipped the 2 makeup exams. He didn't want to ask for help from his teachers or classmates, and he didn't want anyone to know that he failed the course. He hid in his dormitory every day and didn't want to see anyone. Occasionally, his high school juniors would add him on WeChat and ask him about his university life, but he would just block them. One time, I asked him, "Why did this exam affect you so much?" "It's just one exam, and many people fail it." He said, "Teacher, you don't understand. I was lucky to get into this university. This course has exposed my true abilities. I'm actually not that good." When I worked at the university, I often encountered students like him. They were very smart but easily discouraged by setbacks. I found that these people had a common trait: they had a heavy self. When things were going well, they felt very confident, but when they encountered setbacks, they felt worthless. But no matter how they evaluated themselves, it seemed like they were very concerned about their performance and how others perceived them. They all had a heavy burden of proving themselves. I call this psychological state fragile high self-esteem. What causes this fragile high self-esteem? One explanation is that these people must have received too much criticism and blame during their growth, which made them lose confidence. After all, we have all heard that praise and compliments can cultivate a person's self-confidence. But upon closer inspection, it's not always the case. Many of them grew up in an environment where they were praised and affirmed. So what makes them so fragile in the face of setbacks? This is what we will discuss today: rigid thinking.